So I want to come back to the drawing that we started before, and I want to show you a few more structures that we're about to look at. Just because this will make a little bit more sense, I think, than just diving straight into our cat. So this is where we left off. We had latissimus dorsi, spinotrapezius, acromiotrapezius, clavotrapezius. We cut acromiotrapezius because we're about to look at some deep muscles, likely in the next video. One of the muscles we have right here is going to be levator scapula. It's going to elevate the scapula, right? Like, that makes sense. If you look in your book, it's going to have levator scapula ventralis and such. We're just learning it as levator scapula. All right. If we look below these, you have some muscles running in this direction. And this is going to be one of our first deltoid muscles. Now, if you look deep to all of this, the scapula is right down here, right? That's what levator scapula is running to. And in particular, the spine of that scapula is running right below here. And so this muscle is coming off of the spine of the scapula. And so this is going to be our spinodeltoid. Sitting in front of the spinodeltoid is our acromiodeltoid. And if you remember, there was that acromion process that we learned about. I can't remember if that was one of the bony landmarks we learned on the scapula, or if it was one of the gray structures that you didn't need to know, but regardless, we saw that it was there. That's what this is referring to as acromion. Okay? So we have our acromiodeltoid anterior and our spinodeltoid posterior, running kind of right in the shoulder region here, underneath my trapezius. Not deep, but dorsal to the trapezius. I mentioned this in a previous video that I just was looking at, but you see the clavicle right here. And once we get past the clavicle, so notice these are my trapezius muscles. Clavotrapezius, it's a trapezius muscle running to the clavicle. But once we get below that, now this muscle here is clavobrachialis. Clavobrachialis. This forearm, or this forearm region, the upper arm here, is the brachium. And so when we're in the brachium, you're going to see this brachialis used quite a bit in different terms. So that's my clavobrachialis. It's running from the clavicle into the brachial region. If we move further back, we're going to run into our triceps brachii. Once again, there's that brachii word. And the first one that we're actually going to run into is going to be the lateral head of the triceps. Make sure my spelling's normally not that great, so. Two eyes. Lateral head of the triceps brachii. If we look posterior to that, we should be able to see the long head of the triceps brachii. There's another muscle that's deep to this that we'll be able to see now. And this muscle here is going to be my brachioradialis. And it's running from this brachium region down to the radius. So it's actually running to the forearm. Okay, they did the lower portion of the forearm there. So this would, I believe, do it for the superficial forelimb muscles in the lateral view. there is a medial head to the triceps brachii, and that's going to be running deep. So maybe we'll see that in just a little bit. So let's now change our camera angle, and let's look at our cat. And I'll come back in here. And once again, we have latissimus dorsi. I then have spinotrapezus. My acromiotrapezus would have been right here. Remember, I cut it. I kind of butchered the crap out of it. Sitting in the front of it, here, this is my clavotrapezius. Clavotrapezius, if I kind of pull back on it like this, you can see it runs down to here. Here's my clavicle. Once I get past the clavicle, all the way down here, I'm now in clavobrachialis. Now here's the thing, I'm not going to pin this muscle like right here or right here where it's ambiguous. I'm going to pin it in such a way that it's distinctly clavobrachialis or distinctly clavotrapezius. Right. I then have running right here, which has been slightly torn in half. But we'll just refer to this guy here. I'll try to do it better on another cat. This is my levator scapula. There's another half to it. It's right here. But it's been butchered a little. Levator scapula. This is running on this posterior diagonal down to the scapular region. Once I get below all of this, so here once again this is my spinotrapezius. Here, this is going to be my spinodeltoid. This is my spinodeltoid. Here's my levator scapula. Here's my clavobrachialis. Running in front of that, let's clean this up a little bit. Grab some other forceps here. This muscle in the front then would be a acromiodeltoid. Acromiodeltoid. Here's my acromiodeltoid. Here's my spinodeltoid. Here's my clavobrachialis. Clavobrachialis, clavotrapezius. Then if I come down to the forearm now, this would be my lateral head of my triceps brachii. This would be my long head of my triceps brachii. And deep to those, right down in here, let's clean this up. There's my medial head of my triceps brachii. Bring my lateral head back over. You can remember the lateral head is the most lateral one. If I go back to the anterior portion of the cat here, remember this was my clavobrachialis. Up here, this was my acromiodeltoid. Distal to that, here, you can follow this muscle. This is a nerve, move it out of the way. See, it's running up to the forearm here. This muscle, that's my brachioradialis. Notice clavobrachialis is just running to the distal end of the brachium. Brachioradialis is running all the way up to the forearm where the radius bone would be. This here is a nerve. We'll learn about nerves later down the road. That once again does it for all the superficial forelimb muscles in the lateral view. We'll turn the cat over in just a little bit And we'll look at the superficial forelimb muscles in the ventral view. There's only 4 of them.